The villagers mocked her every day. Barren woman, they called her. Her heart was shattered. One night, she walked to the silent river, tears falling like rain, and begged the mysterious man-maid who owned the river to give her a child. He agreed, but on one chilling condition. When the child grew up, she must marry him. Desperate for motherhood, she said yes. Years later, when her only daughter became of age, she dressed her in a wedding gown and dragged her to the river. The girl screamed and cried, but the man-maid was already rising from the dark water, ready to take his bride forever. For many years, Margaret lived in silent pain. She had been married to her husband, John, for over a decade, but no child had ever cried in their home. In their small village, children were considered blessings, and a woman without one was seen as cursed. The whispers of the villagers grew louder with each passing year. Women avoided her, men laughed behind her back, and children pointed at her in the market, chanting cruel names: empty mother, dry tree. Margaret tried to hide her tears from her husband, but at night, when John was asleep, she would bury her face in her pillow and weep. She prayed, she fasted, she visited healers, but nothing changed. Her heart became so heavy that she felt she could no longer carry it. One evening, after another day of mockery from the villagers, she walked down to the riverbank. The moonlight danced on the water, and the night was unusually quiet. Standing barefoot at the edge of the river, her voice broke as she cried, "Oh, whoever owns this river, please hear me. I am tired. I am broken. Give me a child, please. Even if it's just one, I will give anything in return. Just please, bless my womb." Suddenly, the water rippled, and a strange figure emerged. He was tall, with glistening skin that shimmered like fish scales, and his eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. He was the man-maid, the spirit ruler of the river. His deep voice echoed over the water. "Woman, I have heard your cry. I can give you a child, and she will be the joy of your life." But he paused, his glowing eyes narrowing. "When she is grown and ripe for marriage, you will bring her to me. She will be my wife, and she will live here in the river with me forever. Fail to do so, and you will lose her completely." Margaret's heart pounded. The words were terrifying, but the thought of living childless forever was worse. She thought of the years of shame, the laughter of her enemies, the lonely nights. Her desperation drowned her fear. "I agree," she whispered. "Give me the child, and when the time comes, I will bring her to you." The man-maid smiled faintly, raised his hands, and a soft mist surrounded her. She felt a strange warmth in her womb, and the man-maid slowly sank back into the water, leaving the river calm once more. From that night, her life changed. Margaret became pregnant within weeks, and her joy knew no bounds. When her husband found out, he cried tears of happiness. The villagers who once mocked her now congratulated her, saying, "It was a miracle. Months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl whom they named Rose. Rose grew up to be the light of her mother's world. Margaret adored her and could not bear to be apart from her even for a single day. She never told her husband about the bargain she had made, and she certainly never told Rose. She buried that dark secret deep inside her heart. Years passed, and tragedy struck. John fell ill and died, leaving Margaret a widow. Rose became her only companion, and their bond grew even stronger. But as Rose blossomed into a young woman, her beauty unmatched, Margaret began to feel the shadow of her promised return. The river spirit's words haunted her at night. When she is ripe for marriage, she will be mine. Margaret's heart ached, but she told herself she had no choice. She had made a vow, and debts to the river must always be paid. One morning, Margaret woke up before dawn. She quietly took out a pure white wedding gown she had secretly bought months earlier. Without explaining, she told Rose to put it on. Confused and frightened, Rose refused, but her mother insisted with a sternness she had never shown before. Eventually, Rose, trembling, wore the gown, still not knowing what was happening. Hand in hand, though Rose's hand shook, Margaret led her daughter towards the river. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting an orange glow on the water. Rose's heart raced as they reached the riverbank. That was when Margaret finally whispered in a low, almost shaking voice, My child, you are about to meet your husband." Rosie's eyes widened in horror. "Husband? What husband? I don't even know this man," she cried. But before she could run, the water began to swell, and the man made rose from the depths, smiling as he reached out his webbed hands towards her. Rose froze as the water shone before her. The air around her seemed to turn cold, the morning breeze now heavy with the scent of the river's damp, ancient depths. Her eyes locked on the creature that emerged, the mermaid, tall, muscular, with the shimmer of scales across his arms and chest, and long wet hair that dipped with river water. His eyes glowed unnaturally, a haunting mixture of blue and green, and when he smiled, Rosie's knees went weak with terror. "Ah!" His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "So this is my bride." Rose stumbled backward, clutching the folds of her gown. "Mother, what is happening?" she cried, her voice breaking. Margaret's face was pale but firm, her eyes fixed on the ground to avoid her daughter's pleading gaze. "Rose, this is the man who gave me you. I promised him that when you grew up, you will be his wife. I cannot break that promise. Go! Go to your husband." "What?" Rose screamed, her voice trembling with rage and disbelief. "You are giving me to this thing? He's not even human. Mother, please, don't do this to me. I am your only child." The mermaid extended his dripping hand. "Come to me, wife. Your place is with me in the deep." Rose shook her head violently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No, no, I will not go. Mother, please, don't let him take me. Mother, please." But Margaret's voice hardened. "Rose, stop crying and follow him. I gave my word, and you are the price I must pay. Obey me." Her daughter's cries pierced the air, but the mermaid stepped forward, his presence stirring and dreadful. In one swift motion, his hand grasped her arm. His touch was icy, like death itself. Rose screamed and kicked, but he pulled her towards the river with a force that made her stumble and fall into the shallow water. Mother! No! Her scream echoed as the mermaid dragged her deeper, the current swelling violently around them. The last thing she saw before she was swallowed by the water was her mother standing on the shore, waving goodbye. Under the river, the world was strange and silent. Rosie's gown floated around her like ghostly petals. The mermaid pulled her through halls of stone and coral, past glowing fish and dark shadows that moved without shape. At the center of the watery kingdom was his palace, tall, cold pillars carved from shells, with a throne of silver and pearls. "You will live here now," the mermaid declared, his voice echoing in the water. "You will eat what I give you, and you will bear me children. Your life on land is over." Rose felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. She sat alone in a small chamber, her tears mingling with the water around her. Days passed, or perhaps weeks. She couldn't tell, and every day she refused to speak to him, refused to smile, refused to eat more than a few bites. Her spirit was breaking. One day, she whispered to herself, "How could my mother do this to me? Are you even my real mother?" Because a mother's love is endless, but my mother's love for me had a limit. She sold me to a stranger, no worse a river creature. She hugged her knees, sobbing. I have heard of a mother who loves without limits. Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ. I heard she wept when her only son was crucified. That she would have stopped it if she could, but she couldn't, for her son accepted death to save the world. Still, she loved him till the end, and they say she will take anyone who calls on her as her own child. Her tears dripped into the current. Maybe I can ask her to be my mother instead. My own mother doesn't deserve me. With trembling hands, Rose knelt on the cold stone floor. Her voice shook, but grew stronger with each word. Mother Mary, Mother of Jesus Christ, please be my mother. Please save me from this mermaid. Please wipe away my tears. Mother Mary, Mother Mary, save me. Mother Mary, protect me. Mother Mary, take me as your daughter. Her voice rang through the water. Suddenly, a loud roar shook the palace. The mermaid appeared, his face twisted with rage. Stop calling that name! He bellowed, his voice sending shivers through the walls. If you call her again, I will destroy you. But Rosie's eyes blazed with desperate courage. She lifted her head and cried even louder, Mother Mary! Mother Mary! Come to me! I am your daughter now! The mermaid lunged towards her, but in that instant, something miraculous happened. A glowing rosary appeared in Rosie's hands, shining brighter than the sun. The beads pulsed with holy light, filling the water with warmth. Rose stood, her voice no longer trembling. Mother Mary sent this to me, and I will not be afraid. She lifted the glowing rosary high. The mermaid snarled and shielded his face as the light pierced through him. His skin smoked, his scales cracked, and he screamed in agony. No! His voice thundered, shaking the riverbed. But Rose stepped forward, her hand steady. In the name of the mother of Jesus Christ, you will never touch me again. The light grew blinding. The mermaid withered, his screams echoing like a storm, until at last he collapsed, lifeless, sinking to the bottom of the palace floor. Everything went silent. The water grew warm and gentle again, and in the blink of an eye, Rose found herself lying weak on the riverbank, the sound of the birds in her ears. She slowly opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was a tall, handsome man in a suit, looking down at her with deep concern. "Are you all right, miss?" he asked softly. Rose tried to speak, but only tears came. The man, a billionaire, visiting the river for sightseeing, gently lifted her into his arms and carried her to his mansion. For days, he cared for her like a treasure until her strength returned. And by the time she had healed, he had already fallen in love with her. Weeks passed in the billionaire's mansion, and Rosie's life began to feel like a beautiful dream. The man's name was Alexander, a kind and gentle soul who treated her with a respect and love she had never known. He listened to her stories, wiped away her tears when memories of the river haunted her, and promised her she would never face such pain again. One sunny afternoon, Alexander knelt before her, holding a glittering diamond ring. "Rose," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "I don't know everything you have been through, but I know I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Rosie's eyes, this time tears of joy. "Yes, Alexander, yes, I will marry you." Their wedding was grand, a celebration unlike anything the city had seen. Music filled the air, flowers adorned every table, and dignitaries and important guests came from far and wide to witness their union. Rosie's smile that day was brighter than the sun itself. Far away in her small village, Margaret heard the news of her daughter's marriage. The shock hit her like a blow. She survived? She escaped the mermaid? How? She whispered to herself. Regret crashed over her like a wave. For days she could not sleep, could not eat, replaying the moment she waved goodbye to her crying daughter. Finally, she could not bear it any longer. She traveled to the city, her heart pounding, and stood before the gates of the mansion. When Rose saw her mother through the window, her smile vanished. She remembered the betrayal, the cold wave of the river, the mermaid's icy grip. She walked to the gate, her voice cold. "Why are you here?" Margaret's eyes brimmed with tears. "Rose, my daughter, forgive me. I was desperate. I didn't know it would hurt you this way. Please forgive your mother." But Rose shook her head. "You stopped being my mother the day you gave me to him. Go back to your life and never come here again." Margaret's knees buckled. She sank to the ground by the gate and wept, refusing to leave. "I will stay here until you forgive me," she cried into the night. That night, as Rose slept beside her husband, a radiant light filled the room. She opened her eyes and saw a face she recognized instantly, the loving, gentle face of Jesus Christ. "My daughter," his voice was like music. "When you were in distress, you called my mother and she came for you. She blessed you with freedom, and I blessed you with a good man. But now I tell you this, to forgive is divine. Forgive your mother, for she is still your blood. Love her again, and peace will fill your home." Before she could speak, the light faded and he was gone. Rosie's heart trembled. She rose from the bed, slipped on her robe and walked to the gate. There was her mother, asleep on the cold ground, her face wet with tears. Rose knelt, touched her shoulder gently and whispered, "Mother, I forgive you." Margaret's eyes flew open. Rose pulled her into a tight embrace. "I have forgotten the pain. I want you to live with us now, in peace and love." The next morning, the three of them, Rose, Alexander and Margaret, sat at the breakfast table, laughing for the first time in years. The mansion was filled with warmth, joy and the peace that only forgiveness can bring. Moral lessons. Desperation can lead to dangerous promises. Think carefully before making vows in pain. 2. A mother's duty is to protect, not to sacrifice her child for personal gain. 3. Forgiveness is a path to peace. Holding grudges only keeps hearts in chains. 4. Faith can break any chain. Rosie's trust in Mother Mary brought her salvation. 5. Love heals wounds that time cannot. True love, whether from family or spouse, restores broken hearts. Dear beloved viewers, thank you so much for watching this touching story. I hope it blessed your heart, taught you the power of forgiveness, and reminded you never to give up on faith. Please, I beg you, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and stay with us for more powerful and inspiring stories that will move your heart. Your support means everything, and together we will keep sharing stories that you will love to watch over and over again. God bless you. Mwah.